Good evening, Shortcuts. This is list one for Wednesday, March 6th. And this is comedy, funk, blues, and jazz, and some soul as well. So my favorite list. Got to see quite a few of you at the Newtown Record Fair today, which was pretty great. But here we go. This is going to start off with something a bit different. So this is the postcard, and this is the badge. I stayed up till 2. It comes with this box set. The Comedy Store. The Comedy Store, Sunset Boulevard, Hollywood. Started in 1972 by Mitzi Shore. And over the years, there's been a number of anniversary concerts. You can see there was an 11th anniversary concert, a 15th, a 20th, a 50th, and then an EP that's been added into this box set. And this box set has been made by Vinyl Me Please. It was limited to 1,000, and you can see that's number 638. These things are going for $200 US plus $50 postage. So $250 US on Buy Me Please website. But if you remember, you got to buy at a special discount maybe a month or two ago. And I grabbed a few, and I'm going to pass that discount on to you guys. So these are going to be about a third of the recommended retail price. They're made on beautiful vinyl, colored vinyl. And let me give you a rundown of who is on this list. And so, it used to be, of course, that records that feature comedy artists were massive. So you got the Goons in the UK and various others. But this lineup, so the 11th anniversary album features such luminaries as Sandra Bernhard, Jim Carrey, Richard Pryor, and Robin Williams. The 15th anniversary, David Letterman, Howie Mandel, Arsenio Hall. Richard Pryor and Robin Williams is a kind of a given here. They're on most of the records because this is where they road tested a lot of their material. And you can tell as you listen to it, you can hear them testing things, and it's a lot of fun. The 20th anniversary features Louis Anderson, Jim Carrey comes back for that one. The 50th anniversary has got, a bunch that I'm not so sure that I recognize some of these names. And then the Door Guys EP has got a bunch of kind of up-and-comers and people whose voices you might recognize, particularly if you watch late-night American television. But there you go. It's 5 albums, 5 records, but 6 albums, because the 50th anniversary is a double LP. It's great. It's unusual, but what the hell? It's a box set. And you'll be amazed how much it costs. And it comes with some extra little goodies. All right. Let's talk funk. You all know how much I love this band, and I don't get this record very often. This is Cabbage Alley by the Mighty Meters, the New Orleans funk band that set the standard for me for 70s funk. The backing band of choice for all sorts of records, including the La Belle record Nightbirds that I had a few weeks ago. Rejuvenation, a lot of people think is the best. Some people think it's Fire in the Bayou. Some people think it's their early instrumental stuff before they sung Missy Strutt and those records. But this is their best, I think. Cabbage Alley is an alleyway in New Orleans, near where they grew up. So why do I like this record more than all the rest? I like this one because it's more psychedelic than the rest. And the psychedelia is threaded all the way through. So the opening track, which is called You've Got to Change, You've Got to Reform, which was written by Leo Nocentelli. And Leo Nocentelli was the guitarist. And you can, and as you listen to this record, it will not surprise you that he's the dominant creative force on this record as opposed to the Neville brothers. Arthur Neville contributes Smiling, which is on side 2, and Kabajali, the title track, which is this really sweet song that finishes the album off. But Leo Nocentelli is either the co-writer or the writer of nearly all the songs. So Stay Away, for example, which is the second track, think of Stay Away as a mixture of psychedelic funk and Led Zeppelin. It is so heavy. The groove is ridiculous. The drumming, this is a drummer who doesn't hit the cymbals very often. So what you get is this really dry drum sound, and it's very, it's kind of pushes everything along. This band are incredible musicians. This is a really nice copy. It's a US press on the Reprise label. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. It's a beautiful copy of an absolute crackerjack record. If you don't know it, give it a spin before Wednesday and let me know what you make of it. I think it's an absolute cracker of a record. All right, there's a few more to come though. So, Stax. I know, you guys are probably sick of me talking about Stax and Blue Note and Cadet and Brain. They're just my favorite labels because I love the music. So, unfortunately, Jean Knight, this is Jean, who's on the back of the record, Mr. Big Stuff. She passed away last, I think it was October or November, 80 years of age. And her biggest hit, and this sleeve is magnificent, was Mr. Big Stuff. And there he is. Opening track of this record, which I think is 71, maybe 72. This is the US first press on the classic Stax, let me put it this way, on the classic Stax label. Yellow with the finger click. But don't be fooled into thinking that this record is one hit wonder and then it's all about the filler. It is not. It is 10 songs and every one of them is killer. And a lot of that is to do with the guitarist, a guy called Jerry Puckett. And now he has a very wristy style. So it's not kind of a chord groove. It's these little intricate rides up and down the strings that he introduces in just about every song. Some of them really, really ride the groove, particularly on side 1. If you like Ann Peebles or Millie Jackson, then Jean Knight's Mr. Big Stuff will absolutely rock your world. And it was her debut album. She never really, she had a good career, but she never really did anything as good as this again. This is a belter. And I love Female Driven Soul from the Stax label. And this is as good as they got, really. Highly, highly recommended. Again, give it a spin. And what you'll notice is that the guitar, again, is quite a dominant instrument. The bass lines, of course, like every Stax record, are wonderful. But really listen out for the guitar. And it's also, I think, somewhat similar to Ann Peebles in that the singing kind of threads a through note. It's kind of like almost sings around the melody in a really subtle way. So she isn't about over singing. She's better than that. And so anyway, it's great. I've raved about it enough. Okay, now here are a couple of legends for you. Mr. Grant Green teamed with Mr. Ike Quebec. Sonny Clark, Sam Jones, and Louis Hayes. Now, this session was recorded by the Blue Note folks, Louis Van Gelder and stuff, in 1962, but it didn't get released until, I think, the mid-80s. And I really am at a loss as to why. There are some notes here that explain or try to explain some of the reasoning. And, it's not just me. If you look at allmusic.com and the review of this record, 4.5 out of 5, it basically says that Grant Green's guitar playing is stellar, that it is highest quality hard bop, and it really is. I have no idea why. And Ike Quebec, for those of you who aren't aware, he's my favorite saxophonist, and he plays in almost often in this kind of low register, this kind of breathy style, because saxophone sometimes can be a bit parpy, it can be a bit abrasive, but that's the total opposite of how Ike Quebec approaches the instrument. And Blue and Sentimental, which is probably my all-time favorite jazz record, is Grant Green and Ike Quebec. In this case, Ike Quebec was the lead, and Grant kind of filled in. But here, Grant Green's the lead, and Ike Quebec is wonderful on that record. Highly recommended. Alrighty. Now, what we have here is a compilation album of the best of Albert Blues Collins. So Albert Collins, monster of a man, monster of a guitar player. This is Albert Collins, as the sleeve says, a blues man's blues man, an open-ended talent. His music is contemporary blues, as natural as your heartbeat and as steady. How wonderful is that? Some of these songs are almost Albert Collins competing with himself, and he plays on that with some of the songs. So, for example, the opening track on side 2, Conversation with Collins. You get a sense of how he's pushing himself, and the guy was an aficionado. We're talking about superlatives in terms of style, technique, phrasing. Became a touchstone for many, many guitarists. And this is a lovely, lovely record on the United Artists label. And it's in really nice condition as well. All right. Now, there was a number of songwriting kind of, how would you call them? Songwriting houses, I guess is the way to think of it, in the 60s and 70s. And probably right up there with some of them was the Dozier Holland songwriting crew, who eventually became Invictus. And Invictus embraced really interesting bands, and one of them was a band called Eighth Day. There they all are, all 8, as you can see, 1 to 8. And this is their second record, which is called I Gotta Get Home, Can't Let My Baby Get Lonely, which is also the name of the title track and also the name of the first track. Now, what you get with this record is, I think, the funkiest record that was ever released on the Invictus label. It is incredible voices, male and female mix, a beautiful band, all original songs, and you can kind of see the mix of races and creeds, and it really comes across. Great band, highly underappreciated. Give it a listen. I Gotta Get Home by Eighth Day. All right, a couple of legends to come. This is Baltimore by Nina Simone. 1978, she'd been absent from the scene for 4 or 5 years. Probably, to be frank, I think she's probably suffering from burnout. And she came back with this record. That's the back sleeve. This is the Japanese first press on the City label, CTI. On the CTI label. The best kind of contemporary review of this was the review in 1978 that was written by Rolling Stone. Their reviewer gave this record 4.5 out of 5 and just absolutely raved about it. Just thought it was a stonking return to form. And I think in many ways I agree. I don't think it's kind of top 4 or 5 Nina Simone. But it's a really solid, really nice record and really competitively priced. That came into the box quite cheap, and so I'll pass all that on, of course, like always. And so I think it'll be like $45, $50, and it's a great buy, that price. Talking about a great buy, I'm investing more time in the rock fusion jazz era of Miles Davis. In the last box, there was a record called Agartha, Agharta, which was a live kind of rock fusion recording that he did in Osaka, I think in '75. But nothing will compare to the absolute earthquake that followed Bitches Brew. Still one of the great sleeves, surely. And this is not the first press from Japan. This is the first quadraphonic press. And so, like all of these things, you don't need a quadraphonic system to listen to a quadraphonic record. But what you get is, as is often the case for quadraphonics, a higher quality vinyl. So the vinyl is superb. The mix is great because often they have to kind of remix, and so that's why you get slightly different mixes. So and that's also the case for Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, where the quadraphonic mix is slightly different to the stereo mix. The people who love that record love that pressing. That's all I can say. All right, we got 2 more to go. The Ohio Players, and this record's kind of weirdly named. It's called The Funky Soul Party, and you'll notice it doesn't have a lascivious sleeve like most Ohio Players records, and that's because it is a compilation of their first 2 or 3 records, which were kind of more straightforward party-based R&B, and it's quite hard to find. I have a funny feeling that it may, I don't know if it's true to say that it had a Japan-only release, but certainly it was a big hit in Japan. And this wonderful Japanese label, P-Vine, they released all sorts of wonderful records, and they gave that a real good go. There were 2 of them in the box. One of them has made its way onto my shelf, and one of them was into the club. And then finally, last but not least, if you're going to have a run of kind of mind-boggling records, Bootsy Collins' run of 70s records, there were 5 of them, is right up there. So look at this. Bootsy's Rubber Band. This boot is made for funkin'. Look at that. Of course, as always, produced by George Clinton, in this case under his guise of Dr. Funkenstein. This maybe not as wonderful as some of the earlier Bootsies, but everyone rates the first 5, and I think this is the 5th of the 5, but it is a white label promo. The sleeve is kind of VG. I'll show you. It's got some wear. You can see here the wear on the sleeve on the corner. The spine's okay. It's got some wear on top as well. You can see the sample sticker. I love the warning. Warning, the Surgeon General has determined that listening to this album may cause high butt pressure. That is an awful pun, but I love it. It's yeah, and this was one of the band painted this rather lovely image as well. Anyway, Bootsy Collins, Bootsy's Rubber Band White Label promo. Well, there you have it. Comedy, funk, blues, jazz, and soul. I reckon that's a pretty cool mix. Let me know what you think. And as always, the price list will go out 9 p.m. on Sydney time on Wednesday evening. All right. Now, what's to come in the next list is a focus on a rock band that you might have heard of called Kiss. All right. See you on list 2, or if not, if this is the list that rocks your boat, I'll see you for the price list on Wednesday. Thanks. Bye.